On the second day of his visit to the Middle East, the president met with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and urged Palestinians to drop their demand for a freeze on the building of Israeli settlements. But in speaking later to students in Jerusalem, he also asked for compromise from Israelis while assuring them of American support.
The only way for Israel to endure and thrive as a Jewish and democratic state is through the realization of an independent and viable Palestine. Those who adhere to the ideology of rejecting Israel's right to exist, they might as well reject the earth beneath them or the sky above, because Israel's not going anywhere. So long as there is a United States of America, atem lo lavad. You are not alone.
Fawaz Gerges is a professor of international relations at the London School of Economics. Professor, the president was very affirming of both sides today. But does that not indicate that actually he's more a cheerleader for talks between the Arab and Israeli communities as opposed to an orchestrator of them?
Martin, let me be very clear. The president has given up on brokering a peace settlement a while back. This is nothing new. He tried very hard during the first year. He met stiff resistance. Basically, he failed. He didn't have the desire and the will to force the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu to stop building settlements on occupied territories. The fact is, after 1 year, the peace process no longer exists. And both Palestinians and Israelis, I would argue, do not take his rhetoric very seriously. It's empty talk, unfortunately.
So you don't think that when he said what he said today in speeches to both comments to Mahmoud Abbas and also to students in Jerusalem, that he has any intention to kind of broker some kind of peace talk beginning?
Whatsoever. In fact, after the first year, he made a clear decision, a strategic decision, that brokering a peace settlement, Martin, would be very costly political to the president. 3 major confrontations with the Israeli prime ministers. He lost every single confrontation. He realized he had to apply pressure. He didn't have the will and the desire. And that's why the reality is, the irony, Martin, is urging the Palestinian president to basically give up the demand to stop, for settlements to be stopped. It was President Obama's initially who insisted that the settlements must be stopped. The Palestinians basically put all their eggs in Obama's baskets. There is no basket anymore.
OK, so if you're negative and pessimistic about the president, what about Prime Minister Netanyahu? Because he's just been re-elected, but he's cobbled together a coalition government. Is there any hope in a less, perhaps, hawkish team that he might be able to be encouraged to enter some kind of discussion?
Martin, this is a very fragile coalition. The priorities of this coalition are domestic politics and the Iranian threat. Prime Minister Netanyahu, I'm being blunt, is more interested in creating facts on the ground, in creating settlements on the ground, in cancelling out the possibility of Palestinian state. He has already won against the president. Why should the Prime Minister and his fragile coalition engage in peace talks whereby they do not really want to stop settlements in occupied peace territories? I would argue in the next 4 years, the next president, President Obama, hardly anything will take place on the peace process.
Gosh, that's very discouraging. Fawaz Gerges, thank you so much for joining us.